Hi guys, it's Miss Ainsley. We are kicking off our ocean or under the sea theme week this week with a new story. And our first story is going to be Down to the Sea with Mr. Magee. And this story is by Chris Van Dusen. And it's about a man named Mr. Magee and his puppy, and her name is Dee, they're rhyming, and they take a boat trip down to the water. So we'll see what kind of adventures they get up to. This book is very fun to read because it's rhyming and it makes it have a little bit of a rhythm to it. So that makes it a fun story. Alright, Down to the Sea with Mr. Magee by Chris Van Dusen. Mr. Magee and his little dog Dee loved spending time in their boat on the sea. So early one morning at 6:32, they made a decision that's just what they'd do. Here they are eating their breakfast. Mr. Magee is eating some cereal. Dee has her bowl of dog food. And they're deciding that they're going to spend the day on the water, which sounds like a great way to spend a hot summer day. Right after breakfast, Magee packed a lunch. Sandwiches, carrots, a thermos of punch, a big box of raisins, some sweet pickled beets, chocolate chip cookies, and crunchy dog treats. Those sound good. Sandwiches, fruit punch, some fruit and cookies, and treats for Dee. What would you pack on your picnic? With plans for the day and enough lunch for 3, they hopped in the car and drove down to the sea. And all their neighbors are waving to them. The milkman here, we can see him. If you hear little scratches, my puppy, my version of Dee, is trying to make a bed on the carpet. The pair left the dock at 7 o'clock. And motored their way around Eagle Egg Rock. They passed by the lighthouse and by the old wreck, with Magee at the wheel and Dee on the deck. So it looks like they passed a big shipwreck here. There's the lighthouse in the background. And here they are on their boat, heading out to find the perfect spot at sea. Let's see what happens. They suddenly spied, off the bow to the east, a big pod of whales. There were 50 at least, splashing about in the bright morning sun, feasting on shrimp and sardines by the ton. Here's all the whales in a big pod. That would be pretty cool to see out on your boat. But one little whale, who had eaten his fill, munching on minnows and plankton and krill, was bored with his breakfast, and since he was through, he swam off in search of something to do. Here right in the corner we can see the little whale who swam off by himself. What do we think he's going to do? Uh-oh. Now, Dee and Magee, in their boat on the bay, didn't notice the whale that was heading their way. They were watching the other whales put on a show, and soon that young whale was directly below. Oh my goodness. So here's Mr. Magee and Dee on their boat, and you can see Magee is pointing to the whales. They're still watching and having a good time. But underneath their boat, we can see the little whale's big shadow. He is right underneath their boat. They might be in some trouble here. Uh-oh. From under the sea, the little whale spied Magee and Dee's boat, but not them inside. He longed for adventure. He wanted to play. So he bumped at the boat in a most friendly way. Then the whale placed his blowhole directly below, and ever so gently he started to blow. So here's the whale, and he can't see that there's a person and a puppy in the boat. He thinks it's like a toy, so he's bumping it with his nose. And now he put his blowhole underneath. That's how whales breathe. I think Mr. Magee might need to watch out. This could be bad. Magee saw the bubbles. He felt the boat sway. Then up went the boat on a fountain of spray. Higher and higher the little boat flew, as harder and harder the little whale blew. Uh-oh. He sprayed so much water out of his blowhole that he blew them all the way up into the sky. Then the whale blew a blast as hard as he could. Much harder, in fact, than a little whale should. And that final blast blew the boat up in the sky, first 30, then 40, then 50 feet high. Oh my goodness, I would be so scared if I was that high up. You can tell Mr. Magee and Dee are scared too, because they look very surprised looking down at the water. The boat kept on rising, but it didn't stop there. Wind hit it hard, and it flew through the air. Dee and Magee sailed over the sea, when all of a sudden, look, here's their boat. Mr. Magee is holding tight to his hat. Their lunch is starting to spill out. And Dee is covering her eyes. Oh my goodness. All the seagulls are flying away. Let's see what happens. When all of a sudden, they got stuck in a tree. So there they were, stranded, Magee and his pup, in the top of a spruce, 60-something feet up. There they are. We can see their little shadow of their boat high up in that spruce tree. And the whales are way down here. So we can definitely tell how high they flew. Oh no. How are they going to get down? That is quite the problem. From their perch in the sky, the two watched in dismay as the whale far below swam swiftly away. Magee was downhearted. Just what could he do? They seemed hopelessly stuck, but little Dee knew. Okay, so Dee has an idea. Let's see. The secret to get the boat safely unpinned was to rock back and forth and wait for the wind. So they rocked and they rocked for an hour or so, but the boat didn't budge because the wind didn't blow. Just when they thought they'd be stuck there all night, they spotted far off a spectacular sight. So here they are, still sitting at the top. And Dee said we should rock the boat back and forth. But that didn't seem to work because there was no wind to help lodge the boat out of the tree. So who do you think is going to come help them? Who do they see? Away in the distance, across the blue bay, the whales, all 50, were headed their way. They swam through the water in one long straight row and gathered around the small island below. Here's all the whales coming on near the island. What are they going to do to help? Magee looked down at the circle of whales surrounding the island and raising their tails. He felt a bit nervous, a little bit tense. Look, if you look at his face, you can see he's nervous because he's biting his nails. And Dee looks nervous too because she's peeking over the edge of the boat. When all of a sudden, it made perfect sense. "They're trying to save us," he shouted with glee. "Hold on, Dee, hold on, as tight as can be." What do we think the whales are going to do with their tails? Oh my goodness. Their tails splashed down with a thunderous crash, which in turn created a super high splash that covered the island and raced up the tree and dislodged the boat and set them both free. So this big splash shook the tree and set the boat free. Here's Mr. Magee and Dee. He's holding onto his hat again, and Dee has her paws up in the air, like whee! Dee was so happy, she let out a yelp. Woof! Magee tipped his hat to the whales for their help. "Thank you, my friends, for saving the day." Then they all waved goodbye, and the whales swam away. On the way home, little Dee had a thought. Hey, what about all the food they had brought? Here they are, waving goodbye to the whales. In all their excitement, they ate not a bite. They forgot to eat their picnic because they got stuck up in that tree. So they saved it and had it for dinner that night. So here we can see them in their house, eating their picnic that they saved and brought back for dinner. And on this page you can see their picnic basket with their thermos and the sandwiches and the dog treats and carrots. Sounds delicious, except for the dog treat part. That's just for the puppy. So, I hope you guys enjoyed going down to the sea with Mr. Magee. And if you did like this story and you'd like to check out more, Chris Van Dusen does have a little bit of a series going with the Mr. Magee books, so you should definitely check those out. And I will see you guys for the next read aloud.